Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There you go.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava
Jai.
Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, Text 39. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamuderaye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Gopa Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
By regular attendance in the Bhagavad class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, come into being is an irrevocable fact. Text 39. Grivayam Janalokasya Tapoloka Stanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Grivayam Janalokasya
Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat Murdhabhi Satyalokastu Brahmaloka Sanatanaha Grivayam Janalokasya Tapolokastanadvayat
Satyalokastu
Murdadi Satyalokastu
Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Trinayam Janalokasya
Trilayam Janalokasya
Tapalokastanadvayat
Tapolokastanadvayat
Mudhavi Satyalokastu
Murdadi Satyalokastu
Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Brahmaloka Sanatanaha
Grivayam,
Grivayam
up to the neck.
up to the neck
Janalokaha,
Janaloka
the Janaloka planetary system.
the Janaloka planetary system
Asya,
Asya
of him.
of him
Tapolokaha,
Tapaloka
the Tapaloka planetary system.
the Tapaloka planetary system
Sthanadvayat,
Sanavaya
beginning from the breast.
beginning from the breast
Murdhavi,
Murdadi
by the head.
by the head
Satyalokaha,
Satyaloka
the Satyaloka planetary system.
the Satyaloka planetary system
Two,
two
but
but
Brahmalokaha,
Brahmaloka
the spiritual planets.
spiritual planets
Sanatanaha,
Sanatanaha
eternal.
eternal
Translation by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Please repeat after me. From the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form
from the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form
of the Lord are,
of the Lord
are situated
are situated
the planetary systems named
the planetary systems named
Janaloka and Tapaloka,
Janaloka and Tapaloka,
whereas Satyaloka,
the Satyaloka,
the topmost planetary system,
the topmost planetary system,
is situated on the head of the form.
is situated on the head of the form.
The spiritual planets,
The spiritual planets,
however,
however,
are eternal.
Are
eternal.
From the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form of the Lord are situated the planetary systems named Janaloka and Tapaloka, whereas Satyaloka, the topmost planetary system, is situated on the head of the form. The spiritual planets, however, are eternal. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Many times in these passages we have discussed the spiritual planets situated beyond the material sky, and the description is corroborated in this verse. The word Sanatana is significant. This very idea of eternity is expressed in Bhagavad Gita 8.2, where it is said that beyond the material creation is a spiritual sky where everything is eternal. Sometimes Satyaloka, the planet in which the Brahma resides, is also called Brahmaloka. But the Brahmaloka mentioned here is not the same as Satyaloka planetary system. This Brahmaloka is eternal, whereas the Satyaloka planetary system is not eternal. And to distinguish between the two, the adjective Sanatana has been used in this case. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this Brahmaloka is the loka or the abode of Brahman, or the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual sky, all the planets are as good as the Lord Himself. The Lord is all spirit, and His name, fame, glories, qualities, pastimes, etc. are all non-different from Him because He is absolute. As such, the planets in the kingdom of God are also non-different from Him. In those planets, there is no difference between the body and the soul, nor is there any influence of time as we experience it in this world. And in addition to there being no influence of time, the planets in Brahmaloka, due to being spiritual, are never annihilated. All variegatedness in the spiritual planets is also one with the Lord, and therefore the Vedic aphorism Ekam Eva Vidyam is fully realized in that Sanatana atmosphere of spiritual variegatedness. This material world is only a shadow, phantasmagoria, of the spiritual kingdom of the Lord. And because it is a shadow, it is never eternal. The variegatedness in the material world of duality, spirit and matter, cannot be compared to that of the spiritual world. Because of a poor fund of knowledge, less intelligent persons sometimes mistake the conditions of the shadow world to be equivalent to those of the spiritual world, and thus they mistake the Lord and His pastimes in the eternal world to be one with the conditioned souls and their activities. The Lord condemns such less intelligent persons in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 11. Avajanati mamura manushim tanu ashritam param bhavam ajnato mama bhuta maheshwaram. Whenever the Lord incarnates, He does so in His full internal potency, Atma Maya, and less intelligent persons mistake Him to be one of the material creations. Srila Sridhar Swami, therefore, rightly commenting on this verse, says that the Brahmaloka mentioned here is Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, which is Sanatana or eternal, and is therefore not exactly like the material creations described above. The Virat universal form of the Lord is an imagination of the material world. It has nothing to do with the spiritual world or the kingdom of God. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakarjatam Sakana Raghunathantam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanatha Swami Namne Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I absolutely have no qualification or knowledge or devotion in what to speak of realization on this such vast, inconceivable and expansive topic of this absolute truth. I'll try to repeat what Srila Prabhupada has given us through the translations and purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll divide this class into two parts. First part will give a background of the last two chapters. Since we are coming to an end of this chapter, Cause of All Causes, we'll give a background about the last two chapters. The fourth chapter is the process of creation, and the fifth chapter now we are in is the Cause of All Causes. And after the little background, we will discuss about the current verse, like more about the 14 planetary systems of the three worlds. We'll just go a little bit about those three worlds, what exactly they are. So in the beginning of the fourth chapter, the process of creation, the setting is where Parikshit Maharaj is sitting with Sukadeva Goswami. And Parikshit Maharaj is already hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, and he's about to die pretty soon, and he's going to leave the planet. And knowing that, he inquired from Sukadeva Goswami to know about the absolute truth. And at this point of time, Sukadeva Goswami is already giving the highest knowledge to Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj is totally absorbed in Krishna at this point of time. He's totally absorbed in Krishna, and he renounced all sorts of material fruitful activities. That includes like economic development, sense gratification, and religion. And he already renounced all the fruitful activities. And then he only thing he's doing is he's asking Sukadeva Goswami questions one after the other. And he's totally absorbed in Krishna. And in the process of asking these questions, he addresses Sukadeva Goswami as, "Oh Brahmana, you know everything. You know everything." And he says, why does he know everything? He says, because he is free from all kinds of material contamination. And he further says, because I've been hearing from you, my ignorance is gradually being delivered. And this is a very important point that we need to reflect upon. Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee. He has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he was in the womb of his mother Uttara. And he's coming from a family of great devotees, the Pandavas. And he is already a great devotee and he's been ruling the whole earth already. And here he's saying that he has ignorance and his ignorance is being delivered by hearing from Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And this is a lesson for us. We are completely engrossed in our material activities, absorbed in ignorance in our day-to-day life. And the only way that we can get delivered is by listening to Bhagavad Gita from the pure devotees. And two things we can listen is Hare Krishna Mahamantra where we chant, and the Krishna Katha from the pure bona fide sources. And this way we can help ourselves and deliver ourselves from this material bondage. And while praying to Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj asks, I beg you to know how this phenomenal universe has been created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is even inconceivable by the demigods. And now here we are trying to sit here and trying to understand how this whole entire creation has happened and how this entire creation has been created. This is, this is a kind of confidential knowledge. We can call it as a kind of a confidential knowledge completely. Even the demigods doesn't know anything about it. And if we see around us all the scientists, they're spending so many man hours and they're spending billions and billions of dollars to understand how the creation has happened. And here Parikshit Maharaj is telling how this phenomenal creation is happened, and even the demigods doesn't know anything about it. It is inconceivable to even to demigods. So, and before answering this question, Sukadeva Goswami offers his obeisances and prays to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you observe this, the fourth chapter has like 24 verses, around 24 verses, and around like 12 to 15 verses, Sukadeva Goswami offers obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead even before he starts explaining about the creation. And in that process of offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he establishes the position of Krishna. He establishes the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he says, complete whole residing in the body of everyone. We know that Krishna expands as Paramatma, and he, as a localized Paramatma, is present in every atom and along with every Jivatma in every one of us. Even though he expands, he is still a complete whole. Sukadeva Goswami addresses him as a complete whole residing in the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. And he says here that his ways are inconceivable. So we cannot understand what Krishna is doing right now at this moment. We are just reading through scriptures and we are trying to understand what Krishna has already done in the past. These are all the pastimes, the Puranas, pastimes. And Krishna is creating a new history every day, every minute. And his ways are inconceivable. There is no way that we can understand by our own senses. It is only possible that this kind of absolute truth, we can even think about of these kind of things only through a proper bona fide sources, only pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. Because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are even being able to think about these kind of topics and talk about these topics and trying to even understand these kind of topics. And Sukadeva Goswami here says that just for the sake of creation, he is completely pure and spiritual. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is completely pure and spiritual. Just for the sake of creation, he accepts the three modes of material nature. The same point is explained by Brahma to Narada Muni in the later of this topic, that he accepted the three modes of material nature just for the sake of creation. And he says that there is no one equal to him. In the process of offering his prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says that there is no one equal to him. And he says that he is the associate of the Yadu dynasty. And we all know who is the associate of the Yadu dynasty. He is none other than Sri Krishna. Right? And he also establishes and clears up all kinds of doubts that even he is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. In the verse he clearly says that he is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. There is no doubts here. And some people always have some kind of speculation. So who is the supreme? Lord Shiva is the supreme, or the Lord Brahma is the supreme. Some have the conception like Lord Ganesh is the supreme, everything, because everybody prays to Ganesh before doing anything. So Ganesh is the supreme. Here Sukadeva Goswami is clearly removing all kinds of doubts, and he's saying that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And he also says that one who is worshipped by Brahma and Shiva, and one who surrenders unto that supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can be delivered from all kinds of attachments to the present and to the future. He can be delivered from all kinds of attachment to the present and to the future, and ultimately he moved towards the progress of spiritual existence. And here we can also remember the verse in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Krishna himself establishes his position. He says in 15th chapter 18th verse, Yasmat ksharam atitoham aksharat api chotamaha atosmi loke vedecha pratitaha purushottamaha. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in this world and in the Vedas as a supreme person. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that I am the supreme person. And it is celebrated in this world and also in the Vedas that I am the supreme person. And Sukadeva Goswami is also confirming that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead by offering his prayers. And he also states one more important point, that just by taking shelter of the devotee of the Lord, even a person who is constantly committing sinful activities can be transferred to a perfect human being. Here Sukadeva Goswami says, just by taking shelter of the lotus feet of the devotee of Lord Krishna, he can be transformed. Even though he is committing sinful activities on day-to-day basis, every day, he can be transformed to a perfect human being. And we have experienced this in our own life. And like Malati Mataji and Shyam Sundar Prabhu has said in the past, when they saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time, Srila Prabhupada was glowing. And they said we got attracted to Srila Prabhupada. We don't know anything about him. Srila Prabhupada was just walking on the road and he was glowing, and they said look at that monk, he's glowing, and they got attracted to him. Just by looking at Srila Prabhupada, their lives have been changed completely. And they gave up all the sinful activities that they have been committing on daily basis, right? Stop eating meat and no more intoxication, no more illicit relationship. They shaved up their heads and waking up 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and taking cold water baths and going on Harinam Sankirtan and daily reciting Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. All this has happened just by looking at Srila Prabhupada. And we have that proof, what Sukadeva Goswami is saying in the Srimad, he's explaining to Parikshit Maharaj, and we have seen and we have a personal experience of that. And we have the proof that Sukadeva Goswami is telling is true. And that's how and by the end of that chapter, in the process of creation, he establishes the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, and he is equal to none, and he is ultimate. And at the end of the chapter, he says, Dear Parikshit, the questions you have asked about the creation of this universe, the same questions have been asked by Narada Muni to Brahma. And he says that the Lord has impregnated the Vedic knowledge into his son Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma has given answers to the questions that was asked by Narada Muni. And at the end of that previous chapter, that's what Sukadeva Goswami says, that Narada Muni has been asking all the same questions that you have been asking me. And some of the questions that Narada asked Brahma was, what is the background? Who created this universe? And how it is conserved? Under whose control all this is being done? And oh dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all the entities with material elements without any help? And these are all the questions that Narada Muni asked Brahma. And he also says, although you are so powerful, I see that you are performing austerities. I see that you are performing austerities and you are meditating on someone. So, and we wonder there is somebody more powerful existence beyond you. And I would like to know about that person. And hearing this from Narada Muni, asking all these questions, Brahma says, you're being very kind to all the living beings, and you're also being very kind to me by asking these questions. And he says, the questions that you have asked and whatever you have spoken is not false. Unless until one is aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the ultimate goal, they think that I am the controller of everything. They think that I am the creator of this entire universe. And he also says that such people are less intelligent men, and they are of illusion. They are in illusion, thinking that I am the creator, but actually it was created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here he says, very important point, please take a careful note of this one, because we are going to come back to this one. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti. And in a couple of minutes we are going to talk about the Mahatattva. And in the Mahatattva we'll try to understand what exactly is Mahatattva. And this sentence that was told by Brahmaji to Narada Muni helps us understand Mahatattva. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti. And before further going and explaining about the creation, Brahmaji starts offering obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, Tasmai namo bhagavate vasudevaya dhimahi yan mayaya durjaya mam vadanti jagat gurum. And here he clearly establishes the position of Krishna once again. In the previous verses, Sukadeva Goswami has established the position of Krishna. Now Brahmaji is establishing the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva. Here in the verse he says, Vasudevaya dhimahi. Vasudevaya. Who is Vasudevaya?
Krishna.
Vasudevaya means the son of Vasudeva. The son of Vasudeva is none other than Krishna. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, whose inconceivable potency influences the less intelligent class of men to call me the Supreme Controller. So the potency of illusion is also coming from Krishna. And here Brahmaji is explaining that the less intelligent class of men, under the influence of Krishna, of illusion, they think that I am the Jagat Guru. They think that the Brahma is the Jagat Guru. And Srila Prabhupada clearly explains in the purport of this verse, he says that some people think that Brahma is the Jagat Guru, some people think yes, the Lord Shiva is the Jagat Guru, or some people think yes, some other demigods is the Jagat Guru. But Brahmaji is clearly removing all kinds of doubts, and he is saying that I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Vasudeva, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. And he further says in the following verse, he says, inspired by him only, I discover what has already been created by him. So I discover, he never said I invent. He never said that I invent, or he never said that I created. He said that it has already been created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I only discover that. How did he discover that? Just by meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And this is all under the supervision of all pervading Super Soul, and I am also created by him. Here Lord Brahma is clearly saying that I am also created by him. And then after offering his prayers to Lord Krishna, now he starts explaining the creation. He says, the same point he's saying, the Supreme Lord is pure spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities. Yet for the sake of creation of material world, he accepts the three modes of material nature. The same exact point was said by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And the exact same sentence is being said by Brahmaji to Narada Muni. He says, Krishna is all pure and all spiritual. He has nothing to do with material things. But just for the sake of creation, he is expanding into three modes of material nature. And those three modes of material nature is maintenance, is in the mode of goodness, and creation is a mode of passion, and annihilation is a mode of ignorance. And those three are indicated by Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar. And then he accepts these three modes of material nature. And he also says, Srila Prabhupada clearly explains in the purport that, okay, now Brahma says, though he accepts the three modes of material nature, he is not attached or he is not affected by those three qualities. He is not affected by Krishna. He is accepting the three modes of material nature, but he is not affected by those three qualities. And somebody might ask, so we are the part and parcel of Krishna. We are the Jivatma, the part and parcel of the Super Soul. Then when Krishna is not affected by those three modes of material nature, why am I affected by those three modes of material nature? Why is the Jivatma is affected by those three modes of material nature when he is also part and parcel of Krishna? And Prabhupada clearly explains in the purport, he says it's like a relationship between a master and a servant. It is the relationship between a master and servant. For example, a master or owner constructs a home and he lets the servant live in that home. Right? So, master has the control to, he's the owner of the house. He is the owner of the house and he can control the person who is living in that house. But the independence that the servant who is living in that house is minute or limited compared to the owner of the house. Right? Similarly, we as Jivatma are the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Clearly, Prabhupada explains that in the purport. He says that though we are the part and parcels of Krishna, we as Jivatma are affected by those three modes, the three qualities. Tamaguna, Rajaguna and Sattva. Whereas Krishna, though he is accepting those three modes of material nature, he is not affected by those three qualities. And after explaining this, now he starts explaining the creation, how the creation has happened. Before going into the details of how the creation has happened, we would like to discuss about Mahatattva. What exactly is Mahatattva? Can anybody tell what exactly is Mahatattva? There is some confusion around this topic like Mahatattva. So I did some research to have some understanding what exactly is Mahatattva is. So we will read what Prabhupada has said in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter 8th verse. In the purport, Prabhupada said, at the creation the material energy is let loose as the Mahatattva. The material energy is let loose as Mahatattva, into which the Lord as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So at the time of creation, so there is the Mahatattva, into which first Purusha incarnation is Mahavishnu. So Krishna himself has expands as Mahavishnu and enters into the Mahatattva as the first Purusha incarnation. And from him all the universes expand inside the Mahatattva. And into each universe, Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Again in the purport of 4th canto and 8th chapter 78th verse, Srila Prabhupada explains once again, it's much more clear. The Mahatattva at the sum total of the material creation is to be understood to be the ultimate end of all universes, including all the living entities therein. Brahman is the resort of the Mahatattva, which includes all material and spiritual entities. Did you get an idea now what exactly Mahatattva is? Okay, so let's try to understand this. So, you have seen the poster, right? Where there's a nice poster where Krishna is on the top with Golok Vrindavan is in the shape of a lotus, and then there are all the Vaikuntha planets, and below there we have the Kajul ocean, and where Mahavishnu is lying, from whom the pores all the universes are expanding, right? So let us imagine that light we are seeing over there is Golok Vrindavan. That light we are seeing over there is Golok Vrindavan. Inside the Golok Vrindavan is Krishna, right? And Krishna, everything emanating, the effulgence, is emanating from Krishna. That is nothing but Brahmajyoti. In the previous verse, we told that we will get back where Brahma said, I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence known as the Brahmajyoti. So now Krishna is there at the Golok Vrindavan, and his effulgence is spread throughout. Okay? And below the Krishna, imagine there is a belt of Vaikuntha planets. And each and every Vaikuntha planet is an expansion of Krishna, is the form of Narayana, form of Krishna. And every Vaikuntha planet is self-effulgent. So let us forget about that for now. And then the Brahmajyoti, the Vaikuntha planets are also in the Brahmajyoti. So the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence that is coming from Krishna is expanding throughout, and you have imagine a belt of Vaikuntha planets, and so the Vaikuntha planets are also inside the Brahmajyoti, and below that is you see the Kailash. Below that is the Kailash. At the end of that, at the end of the Vaikuntha planets comes down the Kailash where the Sadaseva resides. And below that is where the Mahatattva is. So imagine that it's like a big egg shape, into which, and this big egg shape Mahatattva is also in the Brahmajyoti. So that the effulgence is coming all the way to the bottom, and there is this Mahatattva. First, the material energy is material creation is formed by starting with this Mahatattva. So the Mahatattva is created first, and it's a loose energy. Means the material loose energy into which Krishna expands as Mahavishnu. And it's all Kajul ocean, Karnodakshaya Vishnu. He expands as Karnodakshaya Vishnu, or the other name is Mahavishnu, and he lies on the Kajul ocean of that Karnodakshaya Vishnu. And from his pores the universes are all expanding. Right? So basically, in the Mahatattva, inside the Mahatattva, he is creating all the universes. He is, in a way, basically he is inundating the Mahatattva with all these universes that are coming from the pores of his body. And this, these are all the subset. These are all the subset of the superset is basically the Brahmajyoti. So these are all part and parcel of that Brahmajyoti. And each universe is expanding from the pores of Mahavishnu. So now we have at least an idea of Mahatattva and formation of the universe, right? Now we just get at least a reference, some kind of understanding, right? Now let us see. Brahma is saying the incarnation of Karnodakshaya Vishnu takes place. First, the incarnation of the Karnodakshaya Vishnu takes place. That is basically Krishna expands as Mahavishnu. Right? Then Mahatattva, the principles of material creation takes place. From that, from the Karnodakshaya Vishnu, the Mahatattva, the whole, the egg-shaped thing is formed around him. And then the time is manifested. From there, the next stage is the time is manifested. In due course of time, as once in the material world, in the Mahatattva, as long as we are in the Mahatattva, we are subjected to the time. Once beyond the Mahatattva, in the Vaikuntha planets, nobody is subjected to time. There is no, this element called, this dimension called time is not there. Only in the material creation, in this Mahatattva, is this dimension called time. Time is present. And once the time is created, in the due course of time, as the time is set up by Mahavishnu, so the three qualities are the three modes of material nature are established in due course of time. As the time passing, the three modes of material nature are established, and these interaction of these three modes of material nature with the time, the activities are generated. The activities are generated, and all these activities are created by the agitation of Mahatattva. And it's also clearly explained how these activities are caused. These three modes of matter, and these three modes basically manifest, the three modes of material nature manifest into matter, knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge come into play. First, these three modes of material nature manifest into matter, and then the knowledge about that matter creates these activities, and those activities come into play. And then this false ego, from the darkness of false ego, the first of the five preliminary elements is created, that is sky. And from the sky is air comes, and from the air fire comes, and from the fire water comes, and then from the water earth comes. These are the five preliminary elements of the material world, or the basic elements of the material world. And in the sky there is sound, and from the sky air comes, and in the air there is sound and touch. These are the sense objects basically. And from the air fire comes, and fire has sound, touch and shape. And from water, from the fire water comes, and the water has sound, touch, shape and taste. And from water earth comes, and earth is basically water is transformed to all variegatedness. Earth has all kinds of variegatedness, and it has all five kinds of sense objects like sound, touch, shape, taste and order. So this is how these five preliminary elements are created. And from the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest. From the mode of goodness, mind is created. From the false ego, these five material elements are created, and from the mode of goodness, the mind is generated. And from the mode of goodness, the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements are also generated. And it's explained that these 10 bodily movements, or these 10 demigods, are none other than controller of directions, controller of air, the sun god, Ashwini Kumaras, fire god, the king of the heaven, and the worshipable deity in heaven, chief of Adityas, Brahmaji, Prajapatis. These are all created from the mode of goodness. From the mode of goodness, mind is created, and all these demigods are also created. And by the further transformation, from the mode of passion, sense organs are created. The five sense organs are created, and then the five working senses are created, and then the sense objects are created. And with the intelligence and living energy, all are generated from the mode of passion. All these are generated from the mode of passion. So just to summarize, what are those 24 elements? What are those 24 elements? The first preliminary 5 elements is earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then the 4 subtle elements. 4 subtle elements is mind, intelligence, false ego, and 3 modes of material nature are also part of those 4 subtle elements. And 3 modes of material nature is further divided into mode of ignorance, passion and goodness. And then the 5 working senses are created. That is like a mouth or the voice, legs, hands, a rectum for evacuation, and genitals for reproduction. And then the 5 knowledge acquiring senses are created. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. And the 5 sense objects are form, sound, smell, taste and touch. all these 24 elements are created. If you observe from topmost planet in the universe and to the lowest planet in the universe are basically identified these 24 elements. That's all. Beyond these 24 elements, there is nothing else in this material world. We argue, we fight, we worry about this, we worry about that, and we are subjected to so much like lust, greed, anger, pride, illusion, and false ego. All these are basically nothing but for these 24 elements. That's all. There are beyond these 24 elements. There is no spiritual dimension in this material world. This is all the Mahatattva. It's all full of these 24 elements. And once we surpass, beyond these, if we start thinking, and by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, then we will be able to think about the different dimension, that is the spiritual dimension. As long as we are in this material world, subjected to these material conditions of three modes of material nature, we cannot go beyond these 24 elements. We are just subjected to again and again in our daily activities, or everything what we are basically doing is based up or subjected to these 24 elements. That's all. Beyond this, there is nothing else. We can and we strive and we endeavor and we argue or we fight all these wars and everything what we do, everything from day to day activities is nothing but is limited to these 24 elements, this dimension of 24 elements. That's all. And the spiritual dimension is beyond these 24 elements. And here then Brahmaji explains, so now before the form of the body is created, all these 24 elements are created. And the assembly of all these 24 elements is basically the assembly of all the elements, senses, minds and modes of nature is then the body is formed. And how are these assembled? All these assembled by the force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the universe comes into existence. So the universe is created now with these 24 elements now. Now what happens? These universes are submerged in this causal ocean for thousands of eons. So there is no animation. Even the Jivatma enters into the living, into the matter, there won't be any animation. There will be animation only when the Lord also expands and He goes into each and every entity. It is said the Lord of the living beings entering in each of them causes the fully animated. So it is also necessary for the Lord to expand, enter into every atom, then only the animation is created. Then now Mahavishnu, basically the universes are created and he expands. And now the Mahavishnu dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha enters into each universe as Virat Rupa. Now he enters into each universe as Virat Rupa. And from Virat Rupa we know we have an understanding what Virat Rupa is. He is the huge form. He has thousands of legs, thousands of arms and heads and all. And basically, if you imagine that egg-shaped universe, the universe is completely filled with that Virat Rupa from top to bottom. His legs basically form the lower planetary system, and his yesterday Yogendra Prabhu discussed this verse where Bhur Loka means all the lower planetary systems, and the Bhuvar is the middle planetary systems, and the Swar Lokas is the upper planetary systems. These constitute the entire form of the Virat Rupa from the top to bottom. So whether in which loka you are, in the topmost loka or whether you are in the bottommost or the lowest planetary systems, you are still a part of that Virat Rupa. You are still a part and parcel of that Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Virat Rupa. Right? And it's also explained in further verses at the coming close to the end of the Cause of All Clauses chapter, that the topmost, the mouth is represented by Brahmanas, and the arms are represented by the Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas is the thighs, and the Sudras are born from the legs, right? And then now the end of this chapter is basically coming, that is like 39 verses which we discussed today. Here, starting from yesterday's verse, it explains about the 14 planetary systems. These 14, we will briefly, I think it's already 8:30, we will briefly describe about these 14 planetary systems. What are these 14 planetary systems? So, it is divided into, from here Lord Brahma creates this.
Okay.
From here, he basically gets all the knowledge from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and who is his father, upon whom he meditates. And from here, he divides the universe into three worlds. He divides this universe into 3 worlds. The top one is called Urdhvaloka. The upper world is basically above the Mount Meru. Is above Mount Meru, and is the realms of heavens, and where all the Swargalokas and above Swargalokas are all residing there. And the middle one is the Madhyaloka. Is the realms of humans or the mortals. And Adhaloka, or the lower worlds, is the subterranean heavens and the realms of beings other than human beings. Daityas, Danavas, Nagas, all these etc. All these beings reside in the lower planetary systems. And these Urdhvaloka and Madhyaloka and Adhaloka are also called as Bhu, Bhuvar and Swa. Bhu means the lower ones, and the Bhuvar means the middle, and the Swa means the upper planets. And these are also called as Patala planets. All the bottom ones are called as the Patala, and the middle one is called as the Martya, and the topmost planets are called as the Swargalokas. So let's go from the bottommost, the Patala planets. The Patala planets are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala and Patala. These are the 7 lower planetary systems. These are all called as the Patala planets. And below these Patala planets are the 28 hells, Naraka.
Oh, okay.
Below these 7 planetary systems, below these are the Narakas are there. And that is very nicely described in 5th canto. 28 hells, Naraka. And then the middle one is the Bhurloka or the Bhumi. Martya, it's also called as like a Martya Loka, as the Bhurloka. And the Swargalokas are Bhuvar, Swarga, Mahar, Janas, Tapas and Satyaloka. And Satyaloka is where Lord Brahma resides. And it's also called as Brahmaloka. And that's why today's verse, Prabhupada is clearly saying that Brahmaloka is different, whereas beyond this universe is that Brahmaloka is where the supreme, the Vaikuntha planets resides. So that one is not subject to the material dissolutions. Those are like all the spiritual planetary systems. And this is a division. Brahma basically comes and then he divides the entire universe, the egg-shaped universe, into 3 worlds first. And then again he divides those 3 worlds into 14 planetary systems. Right? And this is like inconceivable information. We can't really explain all these things in a sentence or 2. This is like a huge creation, right? So we'll try to understand a little bit about the lower planetary systems and the middle planetary systems and the upper planetary systems. I tried to do some little bit of research, but there is, vast amount of information, and it's also difficult to get all that information and understand, process that unless we are being nicely directed by bona fide sources. So the lower planetary system is 70,000 yojanas below the earth.
Okay.
This entire lower planetary system starts 70,000 yojanas below the earth planetary system, or the middle one. And each yojana is roughly described as 7.64 miles. 7.64 miles. So 70,000 miles is roughly around like 550,000 miles, 70 yojanas. 70,000 yojanas means around like 550,000 miles.
But the first one is there.
Yeah, first one.
Then this, which is
Atala. Atala is the first one. That is 70,000 yojanas below the earth.
I think it's 80. I read 80,000.
Oh,
But,
maybe I might be wrong. So yeah. So.
Near.
Yeah, it is still beyond our conception and beyond our imagination. So.
But they're most of them, except for the last three, are very advanced materially.
Yes.
One of them is where
Shiva also resides.
and also Mayadana.
Yes.
Mayadana,
Yes. Almost a myth.
Yes.
Technologically very advanced.
Exactly. We will discuss a little bit about it. And in these 7 planetary systems, basically, demons and rakshasas live here, and with their wives and children. And they're always engaged in sense gratification.
But do they have Christmas?
And they do not fear about the next birth. And like sun does not reach this place. Sun does not reach this place. It is illuminated by jewels fixed upon the hoods of the snakes. And practically there is no darkness. Even though sun is not shining there, practically there is no darkness because of these jewels. And there is no old age and there is no disease here. And not afraid of death from any cause but time factor and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are only subjected to time and they get dissoluted basically. And a little bit about the Atala planet. The first one, Atala, is the yawning of the demons there produce 3 kinds of women. The yawning of the demon there produce 3 kinds of women. They are Swarini, Kamini and Pumschali. Swarini means independent women. And Kamini means lusty women. And Pumschali means very easily subdued by men. These 3 kinds of women are produced from the demon there by yawning. When men go there, they give some kind of drink or some kind of nectar to them, and by drinking that they are subjected to lusty desires more and more. And these women satisfy their lusty desires through the men who enter into the Atala planets. And then Vitala, below that Atala is Vitala planets. There Lord Shiva and his wife Gauri resides there. Because of their presence, a kind of gold named Hataka is produced there. And here we have to understand, so Lord Shiva, so beyond this Mahatattva, where the Mahavishnu or the Karnodaksha Vishnu is lying on the causal ocean, above that is within the Brahmajyoti. This is all within the Brahmajyoti. Above that, before the start of the Vaikuntha planets, there is a Kailash. That's where Sadashiva resides. Right. And there is also Shiva in each universe. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are there in each universe also. Right. And Durga Devi is present in each universe. Yeah. And there are also Rudras also. At the time of, I think in the 3rd canto, when Brahmaji is starts creating, 11 Rudras also come. 11 Rudras come, right? So here it is described that Lord Shiva and his wife resides in this Vitala planet, and there is a kind of gold named Hataka is produced because of their presence. And below that Vitala planet, this is a very, very brief and one-line descriptions. There is so much to it. We are just trying to understand something little bit about these lower planetary systems and upper planetary systems. And below the Vitala is Sutala, and it is the abode of Bali Maharaj. Sutala is the abode of Bali Maharaj, and he is the most fortunate king. Because like when Vamandev came, he gave everything when Vamandev asked, and he in return he is blessed with this Sutala planetary system where Bali Maharaj lives. And in the 8th canto there is much more description about the Bali Maharaj and all in 8th canto. And below Sutala is Talatala, and it is the abode of demon Mayadanava. And he is always very happy there because he is favored by Lord Shiva. And he cannot achieve spiritual happiness there because he is totally engrossed in material happiness. Because he is favored by Lord Shiva. That is like a Talatala planets. And below the Talatala planets is Mahatala, where snakes with thousands of hoods reside there. thousands of foot snakes in that Mahatala planets. Below that Mahatala planet is Rasatala. I could not get anything about the Rasatala. And below the Rasatala is a Patala. In the Patala is Vasuki lives with his associates there. Vasuki. And there is many sinful snakes, many different types of nagas and many sinful committed.
Reptilians.
Yes.
They transform from human to...
Yes.
They actually have like human forms.
Yes.
The one that you said you didn't have, that one, there I read...
Rasatala?
The one in between...
Rasatala?
Yeah, and they are this sort of like very powerful animals, ferocious animals, but also some kind of, not humanoid exactly, but there's vicious animals there residing. That's what I mean. I could be, that I recently read or was listening to Sariputta, and he was speaking about that.
And actually, fifth canto presents some detailed description about the universal form little bit. Once we read fifth canto, we'll have a better understanding. And now we'll also see about like heavenly planets or the upper planets.
Did you find anything about their span of life?
Yes, Prabhuji, those numbers are huge. I have some numbers on the upper planetary system.
No, I'm talking about talismans.
No, I don't.
You're interested in that?
Gotta check out all the possibilities here.
The topmost planet in our material creation is the Satyaloka, where Brahma resides. That's why it's also called as Brahmaloka. And it is the mode of goodness. That planet is full of mode of goodness. And the inhabitants are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom there. The inhabitants of Satyaloka are fully cognizant of Vedic wisdom. No bereavement, no old age or death. And the span of life there is described in second canto, second chapter, 27th verse. They're like at 15 trillion 480 billion. The span of life there, inhabitants. And they have, the inhabitants there have a compassion for those unaware of devotional service. For example, we live in the middle of the Bhumi, Burloka, and the lower planetary systems. The inhabitants who in Satyaloka, they have compassion for all the people like us who doesn't have knowledge about the devotional service. They have that kind of compassion. And the next one is the Tapaloka. Those who perform severe penances are transformed to Tapaloka. And then below that is Janaloka.
So in Tapaloka, only the brahmacharis and sannyasis live there, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Once I heard from one
aesthetics.
sannyasi.
They're all aesthetics. They're all doing severe penances. But it's a perfect place for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The atmosphere is totally surcharged with very encouraging for meditation.
For meditation and going to the higher realms.
Yeah.
And below the Tapaloka is Janaloka. Great saintly persons after death go to Janaloka or Maharloka. One in goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahmaloka or Janaloka, and they enjoy godly happiness there. They enjoy godly happiness and completely free from passion and ignorance. And Maharloka, yogi alone can go beyond the circle of Susumara. There is a circle called Susumara, and beyond that is and attain Maharloka and enjoy duration of 4 trillion 300 billion years there. It is a huge number. So, and then below that comes the Swargaloka. Swargaloka. Karmis or fruitu workers can elevate themselves to Swargaloka planets, which include sun and moon. So we, by performing fruitu activities, we can even elevate ourselves to Swargalokas. And even the sun and moon are also part of Swargalokas. And at the end of Brahma's day, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water. And beyond that, they are not subjected to the partial dissolution. The higher planetary systems beyond Swargalokas like Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, they are not subjected to the inundation. So whereas at the end of Lord Brahma's day, before the night starts, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water. And in the Swargaloka, Indra has the power. Indra has the power to push anyone downwards. And he does that all the time. He has the power to push anyone who does not have proper qualification to enter into Swargaloka. He can push them downwards.
Yeah.
And and in 8th canto, 11th chapter, 5th verse, it is said, a sinful person who is completely absorbed in intoxication and all these sinful activities, he can never enter into higher planets by mechanical means.
There was that one great king that Vishwamitra. He went to Vasishta first.
Yes. Yeah.
And
he creates that Trishankaloka.
But Vasishta said, no, I'm not going to do this. He wanted some mechanical way to go to Indra.
Yes.
Indra kept saying, no, this is not possible.
Exactly.
So Vishwamitra, who was jealous of Vasishta, after performing, this is the first of his fall downs.
Yes.
And please excuse me, I'm not broadcasting any mistakes. But he's determined to get him into that place. And Indra saying this is not, he doesn't have the proper paperwork, he doesn't have a green card, he doesn't have a visa. So he's not qualified to come. So then he decides to create a separate galaxy.
Yes. Trishankaloka, it's called, I think, Trishankaloka.
And it's in the southern part of the universe. And he has his own place. He can have his own little world.
Yeah. So Indra has that ability.
But he lost all. But then Vishwamitra had to start all over again. He lost all his pious credits.
Yes. Yeah. Basically, Vishwamitra wants to become Brahmarshi. He's actually a Kshatriya. And when he sees the powers of Vasishta Mahamuni is actually a Brahmarshi. And after doing all his penances, he finally gets an award of Rajarshi. Vishwamitra gets a Rajarshi, but he's not happy with Rajarshi. He wants to get the position of Brahmarshi.
He was defeated by Vasishta.
Yeah, he gets defeated by Vasishta and he was not happy about that. So he does more and more penances and he continues doing that. But finally, because of his, he's also a very angry person. And finally,
not anymore.
Yeah. Now I think after that he gets the.
No, then he had to go, and there was Menaka.
Yeah.
And then there was another Apsara.
Yes.
He turned to stone.
Yes.
And then he was finally
qualified
to be guru for Ram and Lakshmana.
Yeah. Then he becomes finally he gets the awarded the Brahmarshi. So now we just had a little bit of understanding about the upper planet systems, and the middle one, the Bhuvarloka where we reside, is above the Bhuvarloka is above the below the Swargalokas is Bhuvarloka. Below the Swargalokas is Bhuvarloka. Here where demigods, semi-demigods, Gandharvas, Charanas, Vidyadharas all reside there. And they are very, very highly intelligent people. They're extremely intelligent people there.
Subtle bodies.
Yeah,
subtle ghosts. They're not ghosts.
No, they're not ghosts. They're actually higher people than us. They are all residing in Bhuvarloka. And we reside in the middle one is called the Bhurloka. It's called in which we are living, and we live here by subjected to Rajoguna. Rajoguna is like mode of ignorance. Mode of passion.
The one you said before, was it Bhurva?
Bhuvar.
That's only, like, if you look on the map, it's only 800 miles away.
Yes, it's not too far. It is actually closer, actually.
That's like from here to Atlanta or something.
I don't know that detail, but I mean, above the Bhurloka is basically Bhuvarloka. I don't know how far it is compared to the other planets like Satyaloka, the bottom.
I had the.
You said 800 miles?
It says 800 miles.
Maybe it is 800 yojanas.
Oh, maybe. No, I think it said, well, maybe it did. I don't know. I was calculating, I thought it said 800 miles. It's because it's the Kinaras, the Vidyadharas,
Charanas, Vidyadharas, demigods.
Gandharvas too.
Yeah, Gandharvas, yes. They all reside, are the inhabitants of that Bhuvarloka.
Maybe it is 800, but it seems like if you look at the actual chart in the fifth canto, it's just like right there. Here's the earth. It's just right above us.
I mean, it's like a graphical representation, but it is, in a way, it is totally beyond our conception.
And moon is all the way there.
Yeah, it is also said, but we are imagining that like one step below, or other planetary system is below the other planetary system. But it could be completely different way of, it's in a different way of representation also. We are just trying to imagine in a way that we can understand. But it can be completely beyond our imagination too, the way they are all situated.
Different dimensions.
Different dimensions. So
yeah, that's something also that, like Mount Meru. I mean, it's not far away from us.
yes,
But it's not in a dimension that we could possibly perceive.
yes,
But there is an incident when Prabhupada, although I've seen a documentary recently where they do this calculation and it looks like it might be where somewhere like in the Himalayas. But then it explains how, this was all used to be one landmass.
yes,
Hundreds of millions of years ago. And it's all spread apart. And through that spreading apart, it's over that way.
Yes.
It's away from us.
yeah.
But once Prabhupada was flying over the Alps, and Prabhupada said, this is where Mount Meru is.
Oh wow.
I don't know what that means.
And in Bhurloka, we are entangled in this through Rajoguna, passion. And below Tamoguna, some are subjected to Tamoguna, and the lower classes of living, they are basically a lower grade of life like animal and plants. And in fifth canto there is more description about this. And there is one more thing beyond this within these 14 planetary systems. There is one more thing called like Antaraksha.
Oh, okay.
Antaraksha is the space between Bhur and Bhuvar.
Oh, okay.
The space between our middle and then the next one Bhuvar.
Yeah.
The space between them is called the Antaraksha. That's where the sun is. And it is said that the distance from the sun to the circumference of the universe. So this is let us say this is the circumference of the universe, right? And this is the sun, right? So the distance from the sun to the circumference of the universe is 25 koti yojanas.
Okay.
That is basically like a yojana is roughly around like 7.64 miles, close to 8 miles. So the 25 koti means like it is approximately 200 billion miles from the sun to the universe. The outer circumference of the universe is, and inside the universe there is all these planetary systems are there. So it is said that the distance from the sun to the circumference of the universe is 25 koti yojanas, 22 billion yojanas, something like that. So this is we'll end the class here.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is really fascinating.
But you said, I kept asking, I was asking him to give class for 2 weeks. And then the other day I said, so you'll give class? And he was like hesitant. I said, say yes. Just say yes.
Yes.
He was saying no qualification. So did you know this before?
No, I've been studying this yesterday and the day before yesterday.
Amazing. Just in a few days. See, that's...
I mean, I don't know, like, at least like, it is for my own purification. It is once we start reading, for the sake of giving the class, it basically helps us to purify our own self.
Exactly.
So,
that's the whole point of the process, isn't it? It's beautiful. But the one thing is there's a lot of, there's several places where this Mahatattva, the Pradhana, all that's described. And in one place I was reading the other day, where it describes first there's Karna. He's not lying on the ocean yet, and he misses his parts and parcels.
Okay.
He's longing for them. And the example that Prabhupada gives is like a man at night, he sees his wife sleeping, and he wants to enjoy it, and he wants to wake her up. And so he wants to wake up those parts and parcels. And in some places it indicates that they're within him from the last devastation. But in others that there's this cloud. but it's very subtle. And then there's Pradhan, which is almost spiritual, but it's also subtle. He then glances on them, and that's when Mahatattva happens. And that's when time and the living entities are
slowly formed, one after the other.
They are impregnated into it.
Oh, wow.
It's all by his glance. And there's one picture where he's lying there and he's looking at Durga, or the material energy there. So it's like it's material, it's very subtle. It's like the Pradhan is like not actually spiritual, it's a very subtle energy. And by his glance, so he's in touch, but only by the glance.
Yes.
And then we have Mahatattva. It's a combination of this cloud of material and Pradhan. That's described in the third canto, and also there's chapter 8, the avatars and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Yes. Some of the really precise descriptions is coming up in the third canto, chapter 5. Like text 24, 26, like that in there. It's really but even then, it's incomprehensible.
There is no way with material efforts you can understand this.
No.
There is impossible.
And how can you possibly, with some mathematical equations?
No way. Our mathematically like a linear equation, these are all totally limited in its own within this dimension. It's a completely different dimension, and it's inconceivable.
Y plus X over 7 to the second power equals blue cowherd boy.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. This
Can I
only.
ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask, I remember I was reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, there was some sacrifice and something, and it said that sages came from one planet, so like probably Jnanaloka or something, and like inhabitants of the planet, and there was Narada among them. And I was thinking, he like wanders all over the universe, and he's associate of Krishna. So what does it mean?
There is in fourth canto very nice description about the Narada's life. Narada was actually a Vidya. Is one of the Gandharva Vidyadhar, and he's very good at singing. Narada Muni. And what happens is, in an assembly once, instead of glorifying the Lord, he sings in his own sense gratification way with all his girlfriends and everything. In that assembly, he sings in a sense of like a sense gratifying way. He sings. Instead of singing in that assembly, instead of singing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he gets a curse to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he takes birth as a son of the maid servant. Then he performs his seva to all the saintly persons, and then he slowly gets the higher understanding. And then he takes birth as Narada Muni, and then he basically gets the award from when he sees the Vishnu. Vishnu gives him the veena, on which, because Narada Muni is already a Gandharva before, he is already very good at singing. And then Vishnu, at that time he was not singing the glories of Vishnu, he was just singing his own thing.
Demigods also.
Yes.
But there's one point when what happens is that as the son of a maidservant, he perfects his meditation. Krishna comes to him.
Yes.
But you're not ready.
Yes.
He sees him. Then devastation, annihilation.
Yes.
He goes into the body of the Lord.
Yes, Prabhu.
For the entire.
That's correct.
Then the next creation.
Brahma, from Brahma he comes as a son of, that's why he's called as a son of Brahma. First Brahma creates 4 Kumaras and then 10 sons, and one of them is Narada Muni.
But he's not Jiva, or is he Jiva?
He's a Jiva.
He's a Jiva.
But he's the personification of devotional service.
But I mean, nobody can become Narada, right? Like you can become Brahma.
Who knows? What? Who knows? What? You know, I mean, these things are. But I would say no. But yet we hear a story. Why not?
Well, Narada Muni basically he has utmost devotion. You can also develop that kind of devotion. At one point of time, he didn't have any devotion. He was a Gandharva, he didn't have any devotion. And then he got the curse and he was born as a maid servant. I mean, when I said you can also become, you may not become exactly Narada Muni, but you can elevate yourself to that position of devotion by sadhana.
Parvat Muni.
Yeah.
Parvat Muni is his associate.
Yes.
I mean, you can have a whole, flock of Naradas.
Yeah.
But can Narada die?
No.
He can't. Then how can somebody become Narada?
Why? What do you
Well,
mean?
Narada's an individual. People
He's
can
an
become like Narada.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
so many others,
But like you can become Brahma, for example. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brahma is a position.
But
Brahma is a position.
But there may always be a sage, a sage amongst the demigods who preaches devotional service, but it may not be the same individual.
Yeah, I mean...
Just like a CEO of a company. Imagine a CEO of a company. One CEO comes and after that he goes and another CEO comes and occupies that position. Brahma, here in this context, basically is like a head of our universe. Head of our universe, right? He's his own thing. But somebody can occupy that position. Just like in 4th canto it is described, Prithumara is performing so many Ashwamedha Yagyas. Once you complete 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas, then you can take the position of Indra. Indra is an individual. You will not, you are an individual, right? I cannot become you. You are an individual, I am an individual. But suppose your consciousness is much higher than me, then I can pray and I can do my sadhana to reach, elevate my consciousness to you, to your level. Similarly, here Indra is a position and Brahma is a position, and somebody who has qualification can occupy that position. I mean,
that's within the material universe.
Yes.
But the point is that we, the Jivatma, we already are somebody.
Yes.
We just don't remember.
Exactly.
We are the servant of the servant of the servant of a cowherd boy. We're in Vaikuntha worshiping in all reverence. We're a cow. We're a manjari, the servant of the gopis. Like that. And so that is already there. But even when you have those identities, you can perform other pastimes with the Lord. Because, the Lord, when He comes, He never deals with conditioned souls. The people that He's killing as demons, the people He's doing things with, those are liberated souls.
Yes.
Not conditioned souls.
No.
So you can be performing your pastime in the spiritual world, performing your pastime in the material world. You're not limited. You're unlimited. Well, not Krishna, but you're...
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's fascinating. It's like, there is no way we can understand all of it. And every minute something is happening. Krishna it is said, Sukha Goswami said, His ways are inconceivable. So somewhere He's creating something else now. Who knows? what exactly, how can we perceive that? How can we understand that? So something is happening right now somewhere beyond, which is beyond our even our ability to process that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.